creeper. Welcome to Creepy Conversations. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Kalai. I'm sorry if I sound a bit stuffy. I don't know if I do sound a bit stuffy, but
yeah, you do.
If I do, I'm sick. I don't know if you guys notice. I feel like every month I get sick.
I swear it's either like I don't feel well or I am actually sick. It's like we're low energy.
Come on,
today.
immunity. Exactly.
But then when we play the recording, it's like, really? So what is it at full energy? Maybe that's why the universe is like, you know what? We gotta tone it down a little bit. So let's get these girls sick. And then it's like, this is the right amount of energy to put in.
Yeah, because if we're not sick, we're out of our minds.
Can you imagine the creepers being like, they're not out of their minds yet? What?
Almost. A little bit woozy, but not out of our minds yet. By the way, our topic for today is gonna be paranormal stuff, because like I mentioned in last week's full episode, you guys love the paranormal, so we're giving it to you this week. Oh, in our shorty, I was like, hey, we were supposed to cover more stories, but then we were talking about something else more horrifying than our short stories.
Well, I wouldn't say more horrifying. It's just a different kind of scary because it's real, as opposed to paranormal. I make it seem like the paranormal is not real. It could be. It could, like...
It's so funny because we're like, we kind of don't believe it, but in case if it's real, let's just not invite that energy.
We're like trying to be a realist at the same time skeptic. We're ironic like that.
Exactly. Anyway, so I'm going to continue with the story that we were supposed to cover in our shorty. It's not really a continuation with the story, but it kind of relates because it's both in the same
country
story. Yeah, in the same entry. This is a comment on the story that I read in our shorty. So yeah, this one is written by Tay with 3 A's and a Y. Tay 92. My family fled the Khmer Rouge. Again?
This time it's different. It was like Camille Rogue, and now it's like Roche. What did you say?
Rouge. Okay, let's start over because I have an excuse. I'm sick. I don't know with the other episodes. So I'll start over. My family fled. So if you're wondering why I'm pronouncing Khmer like that, I was looking for the proper pronunciation, and then I saw the actual pronunciation written by locals that it's Khmer. So yeah, my family fled the Khmer Rouge as well and escaped through a forest in the night. Ended up at a refugee camp near the border of Cambodia for 4 years before being sponsored to come to the US. They ended up in Michigan and eventually Wisconsin. Every time family talk about it, we say how it's a miracle they're alive today. My grandparents have had a total of 10 children, and my family is huge now, but they were very close to being caught, and unfortunately, people in the village weren't so lucky. We recently visited my oldest aunt. She was 16 at the time and already married, so she stayed in Thailand, and she remembers more than her siblings and has stories.
She was 16 and she was married?
Yeah. I feel like that it was normal at that time. I mean, there's still people that are married at that age now, but more normal before.
Okay, so that gives us a bit of background on the setting here, but it's a wild concept to me still.
Yeah, you're still growing at that age. Nobody should be married at the age of 16.
I'm still growing at this age.
Exactly. So yeah, my mom asks her what she remembers, and it's horrible, but it's part of our history. My family has mentioned some scary stories about Cambodia where you can hear a woman crying in the trees and stuff, which was a little bit, connected to the shorty that we
yeah.
covered. When we visited my aunt a couple of years ago in Thailand, she told us she has a young boy spirit that watches or protects her house, and that different people have seen him in a dream or had weird stuff happen. It's one of those houses that's on stilts where the walls are just planks of wood with some windows, so you can pretty much see outside all this time. When we visited for 2 weeks, sure enough, a few of us had different experiences. Both my aunt and uncle saw this boy in their dream. I was woken up in the middle of the night because it felt like something had shoved me while I was laying there. My mom felt someone sitting at the edge of her feet. I don't like this.
I hate that.
Don't like this at all. Because that's like one of my biggest fears. Like
That's the
sleeping
worst.
and then feeling your bed,
like dip a bit because you
shift.
know someone's
Yeah.
like sitting. No.
No. Yeah. We all had different experiences and it was crazy. When my cousin visited another time, one of them had a dream with like 3 women, wondering and asking who he was and why he was there. That's crazy. We went back a couple of years later when I was there. My uncle dreamt of the same women, wondering who he was, protecting the house in a sense. And so how it ends, Southeast Asia is definitely full of paranormal if you ask my family, but I also feel they heavily believe in it, so take what you will. I was freaked out when I was there. End of the story. I agree. Asia as a whole, the whole continent is full of paranormal stuff because a lot of Asian countries are colonized and a lot of wars happen here. So a lot of death
I also feel like it's also a lot of culture in there. Because if you come to think of it, our gods, per se, are spirits within your environment. And I feel like if you disrupt that with something, then obviously it's gonna stir something up. But these stories are so similar in every single neighboring Southeast Asian country.
Yeah, I agree.
If you didn't tell me this was in Cambodia, I would immediately think this was also in the Philippines or in Malaysia or here. And it doesn't get less creepy.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe because we believe that there are spirits that live in trees, and we use our trees as part of our houses. Maybe that's why we like dream about, as mentioned earlier, women that's protecting the house because they're now like, oh, we now live here. Maybe it's like that.
You know what's wild? If we try to bring this kind of back to psychology or a bit of pseudoscience. When you dream about people you have met in person, regardless of whether or not you have had an interaction with them. Your brain can't make up things on its own if it doesn't have a basis. So just imagine dreaming of these women that you've never met before, and yet you may even have met them in person, you just didn't know it. Which I feel makes it even scarier.
Yeah. It's like your brain is like, let's use these. Or maybe the spirits are like using the people that you've met, I'm like, or.
Yeah. No, but it makes sense. I mean, yeah, and now I'm getting goosebumps
we don't know.
Again. I scare easy. It's insane.
That's why we have this podcast, because we love it, but we're scared of it. I'm pretty sure you guys are too. That's why you're here.
I don't think that's how phobia works, because usually when you're afraid of something, it's like, no, I want to stay away from that. But we're like, yes, give it to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm selective about that stuff because, for example, spiders, I'm like, stay away. But I'm also, for ghosts, I'm also like, stay away. But
also,
let me hear your stories. kind of voyeuristic in a sense that I just want to watch. Experience through your experience, but I don't want to experience it
firsthand. Yeah. No, I think it's more like putting yourself in a safe space, in a comfortable position to understand and view more about these things that we don't fully understand. So I guess that brings us to our next story. And this one...
Wait, no. I still have to cover, like, short episodes before your short stories. One last short story.
We did not plan for these things. Because we had no idea.
I was planning to.
She didn't even tell me. Like, we had 3 stories in total. I
was planning to plan with her before we started recording, and then we were like, let's start recording.
Plan. Love it.
Anyway, this one is by Obi Meme Kenobi. I love that name.
That's so smart.
Yeah. Posted 4 years ago. It goes, this one, my grandma used to tell us about one of her aunts. They lived in Laos, right?
Yes.
My brain.
Why is this Laos?
I've said it so many times before.
How could you murder that word? Wrong. It's literally 4 letters.
I'm sick, you guys. My brain isn't working well. Wink, wink. So in Laos, they were living there during the Secret War. Her aunt started talking with one of the American soldiers and started learning basic Hmong. After some time, though, he stopped showing up. The basic consensus was that he was dead, but she kept waiting for him. When things got really bad and the bombs started dropping, they fled to the caves for shelter. One night, as everyone was sleeping, she hears a familiar voice. It's the soldier. He's mumbling in a very broken Hmong, "I'm back for you," over and over again. Her eyes are still closed until she feels something reach out and grab her shoulder and slowly move down to her hand. When it reached her hand, she said it wasn't a human hand at all, but like a large animal paw. She briefly opened her eyes to see a dark figure, clearly not human though, standing over her. Then she heard her aunt get up. Something was said, but she couldn't make what it was. The figure then left, and then the aunt followed. And this was still in the middle of the night, and the aunt was never seen again. The story is that the dead soldier came back to take her with him, or something else intimidated him in order to take her. That's it. End of story.
That's so scary. Like, what was the motive?
Yeah.
It makes me kind of wonder, did he want to kill her? Did he want to be with her? Why would you take someone? And where did they go?
Where did they go? Why didn't no one stop them? But also, was that American soldier a creature even before he went missing? Or what, were the spirits aware that he was like waiting for somebody and then like mimicked the American soldier? It's scary both ways.
Yeah. I don't like how he was like, I came back for you.
Yeah.
It's like, how long were you planning for this?
Yeah. Was it because it's scary if it's the first one that, like, if he was like a creature all along pretending to be an American soldier. But to me, the second one is scarier, that the spirit or this creature knew that she was waiting for someone and then mimicked this person. Because, like, can they hear our thoughts? How do they know that we're waiting for someone? How do they know that voice?
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe they felt the intention, but...
Yeah, but still, how did they copy the voice? Can they hear our thoughts and hear what his voice sounds like and mimic it? It's fucking scary. In the comments, it says it could be a crocotta. It's a creature that mimics human voices, and it's a dog-like creature, and it has paws. And they originate from India, so it's still like an Asian creature.
Don't we have something similar too? Like, not necessarily a creature that mimics a voice, but we also have like entities that do.
Yeah, they do.
And they're mostly
we do.
We mostly have them in forests or whatever. Wait, sorry, can you remind me what the setting of this was? This happened
They're
in
in a cave.
room.
No, they're in a cave.
Cave, okay. That would have been so much freakier if it happened in her room. Like, you can't trust, you're not even safe in your own house anymore if that did happen in her room. Like, fuck.
It's fucking scary.
This is why we don't go camping. I don't like camping.
Same. Have I told you the time that we went camping and then during that time there were like murders happening in that area where we were camping? And then when we woke up in the morning, someone riding a motorcycle came to the camp and said, "Oh, someone was killed just down there." And we were all like, great, that's great. Thank you.
We were just out there getting drunk, getting high. And now you tell us like someone was murdered there. Thank you very much. We had so much fun.
That's why you don't go camping, people.
I'm still not over it. I don't like that the creature took the person.
The aunt.
Yeah. I would rather, I feel like I'd be able to process things faster if something happened to her besides disappearing. You know, it's easier to process if she was just like eaten or like killed. I know it's bad, but there's evidence of what happened rather than just like, I will take her and she's just gonna be gone. You know what's scary? Sorry, I just saw the clarification. The paw also touched her grandma. That's why they felt the paw. The paw touched her grandma first and then went to the aunt, and then that's it. Like, they didn't really have time to stop her because they were so scared. And they just saw her like in a haze, like walking out. And then when they went after her, she was gone. The aunt was gone, not the grandma. That scares me that she just like walked out, because I know I've mentioned this before, but when I was younger, maybe, who knows, maybe I still do it, but just nobody knows. I used to sleepwalk. And could you imagine if that was like, if my dad wasn't able to see that, where would I end up?
Oh my god.
Right. So that's why it's a bit creepy for me to hear about things like this, because I kind of can imagine putting myself in that situation, and like maybe it could have happened to me.
Yeah. Do you remember when you were sleepwalking, was there like an entity that tried to take you?
That's the thing, because I don't even know I'm doing it. Like, I just find out the things that I do in the morning because my dad would tell me what he saw. I would be doing like regular things, like at first he thought I was awake because I would just get out of my room and face him as if I was about to talk to him, and then like walk the other way and knock on the door. And then he'd be like, "Are you looking for something? What is going on?" And then I would go back in my room and sleep.
Oh my god.
Creepy.
That is how sleepwalking works, but the creepy thing is that, you know, spirits could see it and are like, "Hey, we got an excuse." Opportunity. Yeah.
I think the scariest one was when I literally opened the door to the main, like, the door that leads you outside the house, basically. And I just stood in the middle of the road.
Oh my god. What if there was somebody drunk driving in your village? Impossible, but also we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. That's why my dad was so scared. Because how could you even, like, I was asleep, but I was able to open the door. It was like when everyone's sleeping, you lock your doors. There is a process to opening that besides just like turning the knob. I was able to open the door and literally just walk right in the middle of the road and stand there. And that's why my dad was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna sleep early because I have to make sure that she's not up here doing stupid shit.
She's not trying to kill herself.
Yeah, without even knowing it. Who knows? It was probably a similar thing for the aunt.
The aunt, yeah.
But how could she disappear so fast?
Yeah, they were like, when they tried to stop her, she was gone already. Crazy.
You think it's a fog? Was there even a fog?
She's in Laos. I don't think there's fog.
I've never been.
I'm lying. Yeah. There could be fog. Because here in the Philippines, fog happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you, like you did mention they were in a cave, so I'm expecting them to be somewhere up in the mountains or forest.
Or in the forest where fog happens.
Yeah. So who knows? Anyway, can I finally tell my story?
Yes,
now?
please.
I just had to make sure because who knows, we have another story come up and I didn't know. So this one is posted by Carl. I will take my bet on Shuker because there's no C. It's spelled Shuker. And it was posted 6 years ago. This is from the subreddit Nosleep. And the story goes, "Hi, my name is Trent, and I like to consider myself a cryptozoologist of sorts. Before we start the stories, I'd like to explain what a cryptozoologist is for people who don't know, and also how I came into this quote-unquote work, in a sense. For starters, cryptozoology is the study of animals or creatures that have not been fully verified by science to exist within our world at this present time. Examples are creatures like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, though this can also include animals that are believed to be seen in habitats they do not suit, or even creatures believed to be extinct being rediscovered. I always thought like cryptozoology was only specific to like paranormal creatures, but I'm learning something here.
Same.
Cryptozoology focuses more on the animal side of science in relation to proving the existence of such creatures. This is where I differ from the norm of cryptozoology. Even though I have a heavy focus on the study of these creatures, I also branch into the research of supernatural, such as ghosts, aliens, and demons, which cryptozoology does not include."
His job sounds fun.
Right?
I want to hang out with this guy. Trent!
Hey! Oh my gosh.
What was that? That was like a hey!
Oh my god, we should hunt this guy down and get him on the podcast to kind of like talk about the things that he has seen and experienced.
Yeah.
I feel like he can shed so much light on some of the creatures that we've probably even covered before.
Did you just say preachers?
I was gonna say previous and creatures at the same time.
I knew it. I was like, that wasn't creatures. But yeah, Trent, you can stay anonymous in this podcast. We love anonymous people. We just want to interview you.
We can, oh my god, can you imagine stay anonymous and we already said like, oh, we're gonna get Trent in this podcast. How?
No, he can just say that his name is Trent, but we won't know who he is or where to find him in social media, you know?
So just do an anonymous. I think that sounds cool. I actually even wonder how much you earn from this, because if it pays the bills, I'll probably switch careers.
Exactly. We're on the wrong side of it. This shit sounds so much fun.
Anyway, now the way I came into work in this field is my family is in massive money. Okay. Okay, that explains everything.
Then it's not for us.
Probably not for poor people. I mean, as in, my children's children's children won't even have to work if I actually wanted kids. Ooh.
I mean, hey.
No, I apologize if that sounds like bragging, as I am only saying it to give you a sense of my life. I've always actually hated coming from money, as I found people treated me differently, so it was also hard to make true friends. That just weren't friends with me because I had the newest toys or the best video games. I am wondering when he will actually start telling the story, to be honest, but let's tread on. I believe we're getting there.
Yeah.
So due to this lack of companionship and trust in my childhood, I became obsessed with the unknown, especially places on Earth where creatures we could not even comprehend could exist. So I spent most of my time researching from a young age.
Same like us.
You see, interesting things happen when you don't have friends.
Woo!
Now, when I became old enough, I decided to start field researching creatures as I could fund it with my family's money.
This is a little bit like Newt Scamander. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. This is even a bigger reason for us to have Trent on the podcast, because I feel like he has the resources to actually get the right information on the things. But yeah, this series of stories will be based on the encounters I have come across within my research. One of my first field studies was the myth of the Sri Lanka devil bird, or locally, the Ulama. The devil bird in legends is believed to be a person in anguish who ran into the forest and committed suicide. Stories range from a husband who found the corpses of his butchered family, or a mother who was tricked into eating the flesh of her own child. I don't like reading that. But it's also coming from like different directions.
Yeah.
And I don't even see the connection.
How do you get tricked into eating the own flesh of your own child? I need a backstory.
But also I'm wondering why the backstories are so different. One is just suicide and the other is a man who sees the butchered corpse of his family, and now a wife who ate her child's flesh. Like,
crazy. It's like, you got tragedy, yeah, you could be the devil bird.
Exactly. I think that the people, the author of this mythology, should come together and get their story straight.
Yeah, they're like, come here. Let's talk.
You guys need to talk. Yeah. Now, I don't usually believe too much in the stories of legends due to wanting evidence before coming to conclusions. Though, of course, in this line of work, you see things you cannot explain. So I always keep an open mind. So the tortured soul became what it is known as a devil bird and emits the most disturbing sound you could ever imagine. What is interesting, though, is this bird has not been documented to be seen, but has many cases of people hearing the sounds it makes. Now, I arrived in Sri Lanka and hired a guide named Sandun, who had grown up around the villages where most of the reported cries had been heard. So he knew the forest fairly well in that area, making me comfortable in not getting lost.
Also, it kind of, I feel like this is similar to the wak wak.
It does sound like it, right? Like, people don't really see much of it, but is this why you chose this story? Because you like birds?
Yep.
Now, I know most of you have an idea of me in your head as some stuck-up rich jackass who has hired some poor guy to carry my bags. Let me tell you that even though I have used my family's money to support my endeavors, I have always carried out the majority of the work myself and always pay extremely well to such people, as I understand a majority of them are in poverty.
Man, I'll carry your bags for you. Come on.
I'm wondering why he's so defensive about being rich, but...
Yeah. Most people are. Isn't that called, like, the guilty rich?
Is that a good thing? Or
They think it is. Or is it hypocrisy? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Trent. We still want you on our show.
Oh my god!
But I noticed most rich people are like, they're grossed out that they're rich. They don't really tell you how rich they are. They like undersell the fact that they're rich.
I feel like it's only true for
Old
those
money.
that were like born rich. Yeah, like old money. I can't say the same for those who actually struggled to get to where they are.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly because they can see the contrast in lifestyle in what they didn't have to struggle for. So yeah. I have also seen some extremely disturbing things that to this day still gives me nightmares. Have given me a unique perspective on life and have shown me what people can be capable of. That's correct, people. Not all my stories are the things that go bump in the night. So anyway, I wouldn't look like a person who has come for money, as I will never flaunt it in anyone's face. I have had to bribe my way out of a few situations, though. You didn't have to say that. Trent,
Yeah.
come on.
Trent. Trent.
Say that one more time and everyone takes a shot.
Trent.
Sandun ran through the plan with me, which was that it would be just over 2 days of hiking to get to a remote area where he had heard many stories of a Ulama's location. Did I say that? Ulama.
Ulama, yeah.
When we arrive, we would stay 2 days exploring the area for my research and then take the 2-day hike back. Meaning we would be carrying at least 2 weeks of rations just in case of an emergency. So the 2-day hike was normal for a tropical forest. Like me waking up in the first morning with an ivory ornamental tarantula on my sleeping bag. Ew. And having to burn a leech off after crossing a small river. But I did see...
Sorry. I Googled what it looks like.
Why would you do that when you know you're scared of spiders and you were like, you know what? I want to know how this tarantula looks like.
But it was like ivory. I love ivory.
I'm guessing it's like a white fuzzy spider.
It's black and has like white. Gross.
So yeah, that was on his sleeping bag and he had to burn off a leech after crossing a small river. But I did see a herd of Sri Lanka elephants crossing a plain, which was beautiful. So we finally arrived at the site and set up camp for the night and sat down to dig into some rations. And Sandun, my hero, had snuck a 6-pack of beers in his pack for our arrival. Needed it after that tarantula experience. I would too, regardless of the tarantula.
Yeah.
Good job, Sandun. So me and Sandun sat and talked about our lives. He told me about his beautiful daughter, Lisha, of 3 years, and how much he loved his wife. I started to tell him about my family and how I wish we were half as close and loving as his family seemed to be. I stopped halfway through, though, because something wasn't right. Now, I do not know how many of you have experienced tropical environments at night, but it is never quiet. Tropical forests are filled with all kinds of loud animals that like to make as much noise as possible to warn other animals or cries when they're chasing their prey down. The issue was, right at the moment, it was dead quiet, with the only sound coming from the crackling bright fire. You know what? It's usually the case when people are trying to hide or like creatures are trying to hide. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the slight whimper of a female child could be heard.
Nope. Immediately no.
I hate it when children are involved and them crying or whatever.
In places where you know there are no children.
I know! Like, why though? Is this necessary? It's like, keep your kids at home, please. That is when Sandun muttered, "Lisha, no, not possible," and got up sprinting to the sound. I'm having goosebumps. I got up and followed, but I was not fast enough and lost him in the dark forest. I hate this already! Would you follow? I would, because I'm scared to be alone. But then,
yeah,
like, I have to make sure that I actually see the person that I'm trying to follow. So I feel like if I lose him, I probably backtrack and go back to camp. If I can find my way. I can see this is
stay
why
in the campsite.
This is, yeah, I can tell myself that, but then I feel like if I'm put in that situation, it's gonna be a totally different story.
Yeah, that's true.
This is why we cannot camp. We're just not built for this.
Yeah.
When I could no longer see him, that one whimper turned into 1,000 screams of torture. I cannot describe the sound, but I will try my best. Imagine a person experiencing the most excruciating pain possible, causing cries of agony, but the sound has a kind of strain to it, as if the poor soul was choking on their own blood.
Oh no.
It was heard all around me. I could barely stand it and collapsed trying to block out the sound. That is when Sandun came rushing from where he had running and picking me up, yelling, "Ulama is not happy with us being here. We must leave." Sorry, I just felt my hair standing up on ends.
Yeah, I don't like this.
What would you do if you were in his place? Like, this is a 2-day trip.
Yeah, I would. Let's go back home.
But it's like, can we Uber from here?
Yeah.
It's like,
can my daddy pick me up from the helicopter?
I was gonna say, like, Dad, I need the chopper. This is my location, thanks.
Yeah.
As he was dragging me, I turned back, and that is when I saw these pair of crimson eyes.
No.
They were so unsettling. See, this is why never look back. If you gotta run, run. That's it.
Run. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it was a devil bird, as I only glanced. Hell, all I'm saying is that what I saw disturbed me deep within myself and evoked a terror I've never felt before. We grabbed our stuff as soon as we made it back to camp. Oh my god, they were still running back to camp at this point. I was just picturing...
Oh shit, that he was already in the camp.
Yeah, so imagine someone already, like, you know, the creature was probably chasing after them for all we know. And you're here like, oh shit, I have to go back to camp to grab my shit and then leave this place.
You know what's also scary? You don't know if the Sandun that came back and grabbed you to run is actually Sandun. What if
I didn't even think of that.
That's part of the trickery. Like, oh, God.
I cannot deal with this. And what if, like, you were trying to go back to camp, but then you end up in, like, a loop? Or...
Yeah.
Anyway... We grabbed our stuff as soon as we made it back to camp and headed off in the middle of the night, not caring about the other dangers of the forest. Sandun did not speak a word for the rest of the trip, but I did not sense fear or anger, but sadness and worry. We made the trip back so fast, it took us 1 day for the return, not 2 days. Wait. So, was the 2 days a lie? How...
Maybe they were like, you know what? Let's not camp anymore. Let's just keep walking.
Like, no
Let's
stop.
just, like, yeah.
We did not sleep and we did not stop until we were back in Sandun's village, and he rushed back to his home, having nowhere else to go. Right then, I followed him. We walked into his home to see his wife in tears and the form of a child in the bed. There is more to the legend of the devil bird that I did not include originally. The cries it makes are considered death omens within the Sri Lanka population. Lisha came down with a fever the day Sandun and I left, and within 2 days it had overwhelmed her as she was so young and nothing could be done to save her. I tried to offer Sandun help or anything I could do, but he just asked in monotone voice for me to leave and not to return to this place, for he cannot handle another great loss. On my trip home, I had received a call from my father, who had informed me that one of my aunties had passed away in a car crash, and it just happened to be the night I heard the call of the possible Ulama.
Damn.
Now the scientist in me wants to state that this was a coincidence and out of this world experience, but a coincidence nonetheless. But after looking into the eyes of what I believe to possibly be the devil bird, I cannot put out of my mind that Sandun and I disturbed something within that forest that we should not have, and we paid our price. Another reason that I'm posting my stories and findings here is because I am not recognized within the cryptozoology community. I study these creatures and carry out my research for my own benefits with my own funding. I don't like this creature because it's an omen.
Yeah, and it's very, like, since they disturbed something from the Ulama's place, it's like, it's petty. It hits you where it hurts.
Exactly.
In a different way.
I'm not gonna touch you, but I will destroy the thing that you love.
Or is it like that, or is it misunderstood? Maybe it's just, okay, you're here, I'm gonna let you know one of your family members, they're gonna die. And then people are like, no, you didn't. Kind of like how Bruno
I was gonna say,
Encanto.
Oh my god, what if, right? What if
it's just, I'm just trying to help.
That's right. What if it's not like, oh, I'm trying to kill your family. It's more like, I know something's gonna happen, so I'm gonna tell you guys, but just so you know, there's a big chance that you can't do anything about it. Just saying.
Yeah, what if it's like, that is its specialty, and it doesn't know that the people are there. Like, it thinks that the people go to it to get a premonition, or like to get their fortune told. So when he sees people, because, you know, people avoid it, and he sees people, and it's like, hey, I'm excited. Let me tell you guys about your future.
I'm excited. Look into my scary eyes.
Yeah. And then when they run away, it's like, damn it. Did it again.
It's like, I was going to make friends.
Yeah.
But like both of them, though.
Yeah, both of them. Could you imagine? It's like, okay, this time, Ulama, this is how you make friends. Don't scream at them, but then the first thing that comes up, damn it, Ulama, I told you not to scream at them.
That sounds kind of like us. Like, we tell our brains not to do something, and that's exactly the first thing we do. The stuff that we tell ourselves not to. Like, shit. See, we're doing it again. Like, this is supposed to be a scary story, and we're like, nah. But honestly, like, I was having legit goosebumps.
I'm scared
of
it.
Reading this.
I feel like our first theory of what it actually is, like, they disturb something, and then now Ulama's like, I'm petty. I'm gonna hit you where it hurts the most.
Yeah.
So it got, I feel like it's a girl, like, Ulama's a girl, because no way a man is this petty. Like, this is something
well, who knows?
Calculating a woman would do. But who knows?
That's
maybe
true.
it's not. Maybe
It's a
it doesn't have a
bird.
gender. It's a bird. It's a devil bird. It doesn't have a gender.
Actually, that's what I'm wondering. How did they know it's a bird? Like, did they just decide, you know what, let's make it a bird?
Maybe because, hey, I searched it up. They think it's a bird because it's based on an actual bird. It's a forest eagle owl. I feel like it's kind of like the tanuki and the kitsune, where it's like based on an actual animal and then they created like a folklore around it. So yeah.
Well,
maybe that's it.
Usually
maybe
for
the
omens,
cries.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Because usually omens are also like connected back or like related back to birds or like ravens, you know. And I guess it makes sense if it involves like crying, because sometimes when birds squawk, it does sound like that.
A child, yeah.
I hate it.
I love it. I love how birds can mimic the sound of people.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I just realized that too.
I love the light bulb moment. It's like, oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. Because Sandun, he lives near the forest. Maybe this bird had been copying Sandun's kid sound. And then, like, you know, scientifically, what if that's what happened?
That is
I can't explain the aunt, though.
Sad for him. Well, he didn't hear the aunt sound. He just got a call from his dad. But I feel so much for Sandun. Like, he was just trying to do his job. And
help
then
him. Yeah.
Suddenly it's like, you know what? Leave. I'm done.
Yeah. This is the second story that we've covered. We covered one from, was it Cambodia, where he also asked a local to help and then something tragic happened. This is, you know, if you guys want to go explore, it's great to get a local, but also be aware of the dangerous stuff that could happen to them. And, you know, they're not as fortunate as you are. They don't have that. A lot of these locals live in poverty. Yeah. So be a little bit more cautious when it comes to that stuff. Always bring first aid shit when you're trying to explore. And if they tell you don't go,
don't force it
and explore, don't force it. Don't go into the forest and then end up bringing a fucking manananggal to the nearest village, you know. Just stay away.
Respect the culture, basically. Because that's, even if you say it's not real or I want to prove to myself that it is or isn't, it is still part of the culture. So if locals say no, there's a reason for it. And just be respectful. Just be mindful of those boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the story that I have. He actually has a part 2, but it's about a kappa, and it's a pretty fucking long story, which we do not have time for today.
And that's it. That's our stories for today. That's enough.
Honestly, you guys, if you don't want us to keep reading on Reddit, y'all better send in your stories, because we would love to hear more about your experiences.
Yeah. If you're from Sri Lanka, ask your mom, your uncles, your grandparents about stories that you can share with us.
I'm pretty sure they have pretty cool ones.
Yeah, because Asians be scary when it comes to paranormal shit. Or even if you're not from Sri Lanka, any part, we are welcome. West Asia, Central Asia, the Stan places, Kyrgyzstan, something Stan places. Y'all know where you are.
I love it.
Send them in.
Like the Stan places.
The Stan places.
Woo!
Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, you know, if you ask your parents, if
I'm
you're...
pretty sure they have cool shit to share.
Yeah, if you're asylum seekers and you're listening to this episode in the US, share your stories with us. If you have birthdays coming up, that's a great time to have your family together and ask them scary stories.
That would be so fun. And if you guys don't want to share your stories, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcasts too. And if you want exclusive bonus content and videos, subscribe to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/creepyconvos.
Yeah, and follow us on socials, Creepy Conversations on Instagram and Creepy Convos on Twitter. We're a little bit active on Twitter now, so you guys message us there. We can still read your messages. We're just
trying here.
Barely post. Yeah.
And thanks for creeping, you fucking creeper.
And remember, something could be watching you. Or the government could be watching you, listening to you right now. Bye.